This afternoon's presentation was initially based around CSR and the work we do in the community and the work we're doing around America. But we have changed it slightly. We're going to look at the pathways of goalkeepers and how they get through the system at Manchester City Football Club and to hopefully go on to be professional goalkeepers. So it's not too long a presentation, and thanks very much for staying behind, because I know it's late, everybody wants to get off home, and really do appreciate you coming along today. As you can see from the clip there, played 142 games for the club. Also was fortunate enough to play for England under 18s and 21s, winning European Championship medals. In fact, the England under 21 squad I was in was the last group to win the European Championship medal in the mid-80s, so I'm quite proud of that. I'm actually a qualified tutor assessor for the FA, so we deliver all the national goalkeeping courses in England, and I work very closely with people like Ray Clements, the former Liverpool international goalkeeper, also played for England, who now heads up the FA's goalkeeping department, ably supported by Martin Thomas, who also played for Newcastle and Wales. I was fortunate to be honoured with an MBE in 2002 from the Queen, because I now work within the club's community project. We go out into schools, we do international work such as this, so great for me to be honoured by His Royal Highness Prince Charles. Just here is a clip of some of the goalkeepers I've been very, very fortunate to work with over the years. Kasper Schmeichel, you may not know too much about Kasper, but you'll certainly know his father, Peter Schmeichel, who was one of the best ever goalkeepers to have played the game. Kasper was one of my keepers under our academy system, played currently at Leicester, played 37 games for Leeds and 74 for Leicester, and is also a Denmark international goalkeeper. Just below him is a chap called Stephen Bywaters, who played for West Ham United, Derby County, and has also represented England in the 21s. Stephen came to me quite some time back, and he was actually at Rochdale Football Club, but did his goalkeeper training with me, and he was a great lad to work with. The next one is Kieran Westwood, who played 139 games for Coventry City Football Club. He's currently at Sunderland, vying for the #1 spot, and has pushed through to be the #1 goalkeeper with the Republic of Ireland, displacing Shay Given, who's been there for a number of years and has been their stalwart for Ireland. And finally, Wayne Hennessy, who's currently at Wolverhampton Wanderers. He has got a bad injury at the moment, but he's played over 152 games and has also played 30-odd games for Wales. So it's quite an array of quality goalkeepers there, and when you can imagine, sometimes goalkeeper coaches don't get one goalkeeper going through the full system to play professional football. There's just 4, which I've been very fortunate to have worked with. The goalkeeping pathway. It's quite a complicated one. We have a big academy set up at Manchester City Football Club, and within that setup is a number of scouts who, I was going to say cover the whole of England, but it now literally is all over the world. Particularly we have a big presence in Europe, but America is a key target area for us. But incidentally, it's quite interesting how our pathway works too, how the pathway works in America, because I know with your college system it is quite different, so it's quite good for me to come over here this week and show you our pathway, but it's going to be quite good for me because I will learn on how your pathway works as well, so it's going to be quite good for us as well. Okay. As the youngsters come into the system, we have 2 setups. One is the Elite Development Centre, and that's run at the Platt Lane Training Complex. So the really top-class young goalkeepers will come in 2-3 days a week, evenings a week, and they'll train with our academy goalkeepers. We've got Tim Dittmer and Roy Tonks, both former professionals, working with them. We then have development centres, because there's about, for every team we have about 6 goalkeepers, so 2 will be with the squad, but the other 4 will come in locally and work at one of the 3 centres, Manchester, Preston or Carlisle. That's quite important, because when I was goalkeeping coach for our academy, we used to bring goalkeepers straight in, and what we found was, because we had lads in the system who'd been there for say 2 or 3 years, the new ones coming in were a million miles away, and it was quite intimidating for them to train with goalkeepers who were very good, been in the system a long time, to somebody who's new, was nervous, they didn't know how the system worked. So with these development centres, they get to sort of pick up and feel how the training works, being part of Manchester City Football Club. So if suddenly we need them for a game, instead of them going from their local team straight into Manchester City team, we can bridge that gap, and that's actually quite important. Because it could well be some of the keepers in the elite squad go backwards slightly, and the development squad go forward, so you might actually switch them over. So you might have one keeper who's in the team, who we think, well, you might need a rest for 6 or 7 weeks, a couple of months, and then we bring across one of the development centre keepers. So it is a good system. I did forget to mention, the gentleman to my right is actually Gavin Makel, who works very closely with me at Manchester City Football Club. So we're both here as Manchester City coaches, so Gavin is very much part of what we do. From the elite development centres, we can sign the boys around 6 to 9 years of age, and they will come in quite a number of evenings until they're about 14, and then they can come in 2-3 days a week. So hopefully the ones we sign on just come right into the system, and they will just train and work periodically with our full-time academy goalkeepers. So from there, again, as I mentioned, they can either stay in the system, or if we feel they're going backwards, they can actually move back across into the development centre. So we can actually rotate the system as we go along. And that's quite good, because what happened in the past was you had some keepers who were playing for the academy teams and they just become complacent. Whereas now with this rotation system, they've got to be on their toes all the time, otherwise people come in ahead of them. Elite under 6 and 8 group, as you can see there, we take youngsters into the system from as young as 6 years of age, which is very, very young, and it is obviously difficult in of all positions a goalkeeper to say at 6 years of age whether they're going to be good enough to play professional football. The problem we have is all the other clubs locally take children at 6, so we have to be in that system as well. The good news is that they actually get first-hand quality training from our full-time academy goalkeeping coaches. The negative for them is they don't get to play or train with their local teams from where they live. So from 6 to 8, hopefully we'll sign them on. After 8 years of age, we've got to make a decision whether we sign them on into our academy system. And at the end of the second game, before the end of the season, we tell each of the 8-year-olds who we're going to sign on. And the second to last match, we bring all those children with their parents, and they actually walk around the field of play before our Premier League fixture. So it's great for them, because at sort of 8-9 years of age, they know next year they're going to be proper Manchester City footballers. And I think last year when we did it, the game they walked around the field was prior to our derby match against Manchester United, where there was 46,000 people there. So it was great for them, and we went on to win the game 1-0 as well, which was superb. Okay. The other thing we also do is we have scouts around the world, particularly Europe, where we actually look to target players. It's great to develop our own, but it is fair to say, you know, there are a lot of big clubs out there as well as ourselves, Man United, Chelsea, and we do look for the best. And we're in a great position that we're currently building a City Football Academy, which is just across the way from our stadium, which is going to be the best training facility in the world. So we want to target the best players. At the moment, we're having to barter with players and try to get them, try to explain why they need to come to us. Once this facility is built, hopefully we'll have won a couple more Premier League championships, maybe even UEFA Champions League place as well. And we hopefully will get the best players coming to us rather than us having to go to them. And that applies to the goalkeepers as well. Here you can see is just an analysis sheet which we can use generally to assess the keepers. So they come into the system. We have all sorts of ways of monitoring them through Prozone and various other facilities where we can monitor how they're doing, take all the stats in. And this sheet here is just one of many we use, just where we can gather hard evidence to actually support the information we have. This particular sheet is based around distribution. You can see the areas of the pitches are zoned off. The keys are at the top. as to what everything is for. So whether the keeper receives the ball, whether he throws it out, volleys it out, it has on where the ball goes and then the outcome of everything. So you can look at a keeper and over 4 or 5 games, you can come up with an analysis sheet to see, are there any weaknesses? Is he poor at his kicking? Is he poor at his throwing? Is his decision making poor? And then you can set up a work programme to actually work along that. And it's very much a two-way process. So everything we do is not just the goalkeeping coach, it's done in consultation. With the younger ones, it's with them and the parents. With the older ones, it's just with them. And it's very important that they buy into it, because it's important that we're not seen to be going to them all the time saying, you're poor at this and you're poor at that. So the terminology is, it's constructive feedback where we want to improve what you're doing, and that's very important how you get that message over. Everything we do is related to, in England, what we call the 4 corners. So everything we do has a technical aspect, tactical aspect, physical and psychological. And the next few slides will show you will be about 1 or 2 different practices, and they are actually colour coordinated, so you can see the practice and you can see the benefit you're getting from. With technical, especially with the younger kids, you're looking at very basic things, so eye-hand coordination, diving technique, kicking technique, distribution. So anything that is technically related to goalkeeping would come out as red. As they get older, the yellow section, tactical, becomes more apparent. So it's what's the system of play, what's required of the goalkeeper, what is his role, is it to push players up, is it to throw the ball out of the back, is it to get it forward early, what is his role or her role within the team, and do they understand it and are they aware of what it is. Physical, obviously it's quite a straightforward one, that one. We're always working to physically improve our goalkeepers. We use the ABCs, agility, balance, coordination, when the kids are younger. It's always a difficult one, this one, because we've had goalkeepers in the past who have been late developers to grow physically. They maybe carry a little bit of weight at a younger age. It can be the opposite, they've got a great shape early on, and then they start to fight, the diet. So there's a whole host of things that we look at with the physical section of it. One of the things we do with all our goalkeepers now is we give them all an individual training plan. So at the end of the season, when I used to play, you just used to go away for 6 weeks. You could just go and, I didn't drink beer at the time, I do now, eat, drink, do whatever you like. You'd put about a stone on and then you'd lose it prior to starting the season again. That doesn't happen now. The players stay fit and healthy. And I think more so since the European goalkeepers and players have come on board, because their work ethic is different to a normal sort of British type player who just goes out and has fun. And lastly, psychological and social. Social is how we work within the team. Psychological is massive for goalkeepers. You have got to be so mentally strong, whether it's from a youngster where you've let a goal in and your teammates are having a go at you. When you get older, you're playing in front of 40 or 50,000 people who can be quite critical. And in my case, there was other issues I had to tend with, such as racism and 1 or 2 other things. So the psychological aspect is massive for goalkeepers. How do you always make them feel that they're playing well and doing well? When I coach goalkeepers, I have a little ratio of, say, 5 or 6 to 1. So I say 5 or 6 good things, then I might need to give them some constructive criticism. But I always try and finish on a high to make them go away feeling good. These are just 1 or 2 little practices. I won't go through them all in detail, but you can just see in the white section the colour coordinated, which relates back to the 4 key areas I just talked about earlier. I won't go through every single one, but the first one just at the top left is where they come through, strike a ball, go back, work off to the left hand side and take a second strike. So again, they're looking at a technical aspect there as well, and they're always thinking as well, so mentally, psychologically, it's important. I always like my goalkeepers to be thinking goalkeepers. I don't want them just to be someone who's technically well. I like them to be thinking all the time, because they can switch off sometimes, but it's important, mentally they're always there. We've obviously been blessed with having currently one of the best goalkeepers in the world playing at Manchester City Football Club in Joe Hart. Joe came to us as a youngster. He was at Shrewsbury Town, came across with us and spent some time in the squad at Manchester City Football Club. Couldn't get in the team because Shay Given was there at the time, Republic of Ireland #1. So he was in and out of the team, got into the England under-21s, and had to go away and spend a year at Birmingham City Football Club. He played a year in the Championship League, which is one down from the Premier League. He had a fantastic season, winning their man of the player of the season whilst he was there. Came back, tussled with Shay Given, went in to become England's #1 and has been there ever since. So the pathway sometimes will take you backwards as well as going to come forwards. Very difficult now for goalkeepers. There's only one team placing the team, so you've got to think of ways you can engage them. Certainly we have a rotational system, and we actually played earlier on today against Leeds United in the FA Cup, and our reserve team goalkeeper Pantaleon played the game. So that is one of the ways we can try and keep the other goalkeepers happy. Joe hopefully will come back in next weekend when we play Chelsea in the Premier League. And if we get things right, a goalkeeper can be a very important part of the team. And as you're aware, we had a fantastic season last season. Joe certainly played his part in us winning the championship. And I think we've just got a little montage here. We're just having trouble. We did have a clip of when we won the Premier League trophy at the end of last season, but unfortunately we've not got the software on the computer to play, so apologies for that. Well, that just brings a close to the presentation, the little pathway of how we develop our goalkeepers at Manchester City Football Club. We've been quite fortunate over the years. We've had some great goalkeepers, a number of them who've gone on to play for Manchester City. They also include people like Peter Schmeichel, who came from United, played for us, David Seaman, former Arsenal and England international goalkeeper. We've currently got Joe Hart. We really have had a strong array, and certainly in this country I think it's the one particular area of play on the field where you've certainly excelled as Americans who have played within the Premier League with Brad Friedel, Tim Howard, Casey Keller in the past. And we put that down sometimes to your American games such as basketball, baseball, where it's eye-hand coordination. Even American football is quite good to develop the skills required for a Premier League goalkeeper. So it's certainly one area where you've excelled, and we can hopefully learn as much from you coming over here as well. And that concludes the presentation. Hope you enjoyed it. I don't know if anybody has got some burning questions you'd like to throw at us just to finish.
Just so you know, Gavin has his UEFA B licence. He's coached in Sudan, he's coached in the USA. So with Alex's 30 years experience in the English leagues, battling through, like winning a place, playing in the winter, playing in January, playing in February, playing on Boxing, December 26th, January the 2nd, 20, 30 years, a lot of experience there. If you have any questions, and it's not very often we get people this calibre in our country or that this close to us, so please take advantage of it.
I know it was a slightly different presentation from what you may have expected. Regards sort of the USA piece, we have got a number of activities currently going on. So for example, in LA we've got a field which was recently put down, I think 12 months ago. So that was put down and funded by the UAE ambassador who's based here in America, and that's used by a group of local kids who we went out and did some football coaching for recently. We've also got a facility in New York on the top of a field in a school in Harlem. So they had a flat roof and we built an AstroTurf pitch with a dome over the top. We're hopefully going to build something quite soon in Washington as well.
Yeah, we've got one in Miami and Chicago as well.
Yeah. So we're doing a lot in America and we want to do more, and certainly with Cal South we've been privileged to come over here and show you and share some of our experiences, and well, this partnership is going to be the first trip of many to come over the years.
Yeah. We hope so too. We hope so too.
Well, thank you then. We'll be a while for a
one question. Who, different sorts of forms.
Yeah.
When you play, who would you say hit the ball the hardest when we play?
It's not a name you guys would remember, and girls, but I played at West Ham. In fact, one of the clips was the free kick I saved. There was a chap called Ray Stewart.
Yeah.
He was a right back.
Yeah.
And I remember playing there one year and he'd never missed a penalty. And the first minute of the game they were awarded a penalty and I dived to my left and he hit it straight at me. And I put my right hand up and he went about a mile in the air and over the crossbar. And it was the only penalty Ray Stewart had ever missed. And you saw, I don't know if you remember the free kick where he showed it from behind first and then he went from behind the taker and he put one in the top left-hand corner. And we actually won that game 2-0, so I was quite pleased with that one as well.
And then, not sure it's the right term, I apologise. What about the craftiest sort of forward, or someone who you could hard to read?
It's a name you should know. He was recently the manager of Liverpool Football Club, and that's Kenny Dalglish. He was a world-class player. He was brilliant. You know, he would spin opponents on the edge of the box and clip things into the top corner. And Kenny Dalglish was a great player. Yeah. And he was quite successful as a manager. I think he had a good year one year at Blackburn where they won the Premier League under his guidance. So you don't win the Premier League Championship if you are a poor manager. You do need good players, of course you do, but you've still got to be a good manager, and that's something not many managers can lay claim to.
If there's one forward in the Premier League now that you would either like say, you know, he could be tricky, who do you think would give you that trouble?
I think there are two aspects to that question. One is today we have a number of people who strike the ball so well. And the footballs today are terrible for goalkeepers because they've made them to excite the game, so the movement on the footballs is unbelievable. And I always say to people, when they're watching from TV or watching in the stands, they have no idea how much that football moves when it's struck. And I think someone like Gareth Bale today would be terrible to play against because, you know, the movement on his strikes when he hits the ball is, you can start off looking to take a shot here and it'll end up down there. You know, so goalkeepers need to stay on their feet as long as they can and make that final movement at the last minute in case there's a differential in the ball flying. Physical players, I'm trying to think, there's not that many physical players today because of the nature of the rules of the game have changed. In my day, you know, centre forwards would come in and elbow me and the referee wouldn't do anything, it was okay. But today the goalkeepers are protected, so you don't quite get that physical punishment as we used to get in yesteryear. Yeah?
Right now, who do you think is the best goalie that has the old package?
The best I've ever seen was probably Peter Schmeichel just from a few years ago. He was fantastic. He was big, strong, he was unorthodox. And one of the things I always like to leave coaches with is just a little saying. Would you prefer your goalkeeper to be technically brilliant but let goals in, or somebody who's unorthodox and kept clean sheets? Just a question, no right or wrong. Just a question. The answer, I think, is the higher level you go, results are more important. The lower you go, I think you need to teach technical ability, which hopefully will get you to the other end. But it's an interesting question. I think professional soccer, whether it's female, males, it's all about results. You live or die off results. People don't remember how well people play, is the result. So it's just interesting.
That's one question, that may be one that you're going to have to sort of prophesise on, okay? Peter Shilton reckoned that when they changed the rule for the back pass, before that he'd never had a red card or a yellow card. When that rule came in, he couldn't play with his feet and he got a couple of red cards. Do you see any rule changes? And I'm thinking, there has been talk about making the goals maybe a little bit bigger for goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think it's crazy because the goals are big enough as far as I'm concerned. One of the issues we've had in the past is like, we work with goalkeepers up to 11, they're playing small goals, and 12, they're moving to big goals. I think there should be a more of a transition, so maybe a slightly bigger goal than a full-size goal of 14. The back pass rule, I think it helped European goalkeepers because they tended to train more with the outfield players and they were comfortable with the ball around the feet. I think British goalkeepers, it was all about technical ability with their hands, so as soon as the back pass rule came in, it did make it difficult for a lot of goalkeepers. And silly, Van der Sar, the Dutch keeper who played at United, was one of the best I'd seen playing the ball around his feet. I was quite good, but the rule was about 10 years too late for me. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed it. Certainly enjoyed your company, and once again, thanks very much for staying behind on. We call this the graveyard shift when it's the last one. Graveyard shift. So thanks for staying behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much.